this party started. We got probably a few stragglers here because the representation of those name tags. So if you're sitting at a table and you're alone, that's weird. So find some people to sit next to, because it would be a one-person workshop sucks. I've been there. Okay. So first of all, I just want to thank you all for being here. I'm very pumped about this because one, you guys responded. This is our biggest C9 Well event. So thank you. So it's very indicative of what they're about to share with you. There's a demand for it, obviously, so we hear you, right? And so I'm very excited about that. So our C9 Well series started last year. I would say kind of slow, right? Like we were doing some things, trying some things. Now I feel like we're getting into a rhythm. We got a good rigor going. Attendance is going up. So keep your eye on some of the C9 Well stuff that we have. Our next C9 Well event is coming up at the end of the year. I'll talk about that later. But we got some cool stuff that we're kind of kicking around for next year that I think is going to kind of push the envelope of of what you typically would learn about in the business community. So those of you that don't know me, who here is a C9? Yeah, there could be a lot. Okay. So anybody that doesn't know me, my name's Aaron Eggert. I am the founder of C9 and the C9 Gives Foundation. Oh, thank you. A couple of housekeeping things. So obviously there's some breakfast snacks and drinks and stuff like that over there. If you go out to the front desk where you came in, that's where the restrooms are. I think that's pretty much it. This is going to be a 90-minute journey, so settle in. First thing I want to thank is all of our community supporters. We are here at Boulé. Boulé is one of our best community supporters. So they're so open to welcoming us into their space. We do an event here every year. So Ryan Turbis is my guy here. Thank you, Turbo. Turbo. Yeah. Okay. It feels dirty coming out of my mouth. I don't even know. Yeah, that's so weird. So these are. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I think you all know the deal with the community supporters. These are all of our community supporters. Why that matters is because it helps keep your membership cost effective because they make the investment into the community. There's a little bit of marketing component to that as well, but I think you guys all feel that we don't push that stuff on you. So there's a great synergy between our community supporters and the work that we do and your memberships. So thank you very much to all of our community supporters, including Boulé as well, for being a partner in this. I want to give a quick shout out to Mike Jones. Yeah. You'll see his logo on stuff. So EOS is a great community supporter of ours. Specifically, Mike helps us with the setup of all of these things. Helps us ideate new ideas, new topics for next year. He doesn't even know some of the crazy shit that I got in my head for next year. So you'll find out soon. So I may get pushed back on that. But thank you so much for Mike for being a big partner in this. So I was thinking about how I was going to kick this off, and so I don't want to take away from them, but I do want to, there's always a why to doing this. And I kept hearing about positive intelligence, so then I heard about it through one of our members, Patrick Maloney, and he's like, hey, you should look at this. He brought it to his group. They had an outstanding experience. So Susie is the facilitator for that group, and she's used PQ, she's kind of leaned into it a little bit, I guess, if you will. So I actually asked Susie if she'd say a little bit of the effect that PQ has had on you, and even some of the tools that you've used in your group and in your own life. So if you got a second,
sure.
I'd love it.
PQ is life-changing. It really helps you settle your mind, recognize that your strengths are your friend, but can be overused and can be your enemy. But helping you realize that everybody's got these saboteurs and everybody's dealing with these things, it helps you get in the right mindset. We started every week. So Carolyn and Sarah were my coaches, and Phil's too. We settle each meeting by just being present for each other. And these are the things that we're missing. And then there's so many tools that you can use to take a deep breath, to change the way that you perceive the things that are coming at you. And there's also an app that helps you continue to build your PQ muscles. So it's an ongoing journey. I use it every day. My husband just hates me doing this because that's me calming myself. But I mean, it's just, I'm so glad that you're all here taking this journey because it truly is life-changing, and you'll just be amazed at who you were today versus who you were yesterday versus who you are today. members in our group are positively intelligent. We use it. Patrick is always pulling it out of his back pocket. He's always saying, this saboteur is coming out, let's reframe it, let's think about it differently. It really is so great to get rid of the voices in your head and think more optimistically.
So that's exactly right, like real life example of what you're going to experience here. So thank you very much, Susie. I just realized how loud my voice is. So so yeah, I am a loud talker. You have a normal voice.
You have no indoor voice.
I do not have a normal voice. And then I was talking to Sarah and Caroline, and I just think I want you guys to introduce yourself because I'm gonna destroy that. So I want you guys to take it from here. Take us on our 90-minute journey.
Yeah, thank you.
Love it.
Great. Thank you. We're super excited to be here today. If you haven't, there's no judgment in this, but if you haven't yet taken the Saboteur assessment, go ahead and take your phone out and take it right now. You should have an email from Emily, or does it come from you?
From C9.
Yes, from C9 to take the assessment. It takes about 5 minutes. We will not be offended if you're taking it right now while we're talking because it's going to make this more impactful for you as we go along. So please go ahead and do that. In the meantime, this must not be. Hi, we're going to introduce ourselves. I'm Sarah Henning. I'm the owner of Shiftive Coaching and Consulting. I work with small business owners and mid to senior level executives that are looking to find and fine-tune and hone fulfillment in their careers. So go from white knuckling to really enjoying work so that you can enjoy life more. Positive intelligence is a part of the things that I offer. And a couple of people asked, well, as we were meeting everybody, so I said, let's share how we got into PQ. I always joke, remember the Hair Club for Men commercials? I'm not only a member, I'm also a client. That is what happened. In 2022, I started having this feeling of like, I am operating in a way that I haven't before, and I'm thinking in ways that I haven't before that are not good. I had this, I could feel that I was taking on a victim mentality, and I just was ished out by it. And so I asked some friends, I was like, I need to figure out my mindset. Can somebody recommend a book? Give me your best mindset book recommendation. So they all came in, and I read summaries, and I read the summary of Positive Intelligence, and I was like, this is what I need. So I started reading the book, and as I was finishing the last chapter, another friend reached out and said, hey, would anybody, we have a group of business owner coaches that are together, and she said, would anybody be interested in going through this positive intelligence coaching certification? And I was like, well, yeah, but I haven't been I'm not positively intelligent yet. So I've just read the book, and so the first part of that is going through the program itself, and I was like, oh, this is like perfect, right? You know how that happens. Sometimes that fate just works for you. So got connected there, and then when it came time to become a coach, I said, oh, this is great. I actually would like to do this with somebody because I'm a person that thinks the more the merrier in learning environments because it accelerates learning.
Yes.
So I connected with my friend Caroline.
Yes. Hi, I am Caroline Cochran. Very good to be here today. Thanks for having me. I am also a coach. I'm also an industrial organizational psychologist. I know it's a mouthful. I am a psychologist. Essentially, psychology applied to the workplace. So I work with senior women leaders who are looking to pivot their leadership or just move into something new, whatever that may look like. I offer individual coaching, and I have a women's leadership program called Arise, Women's Leadership Collective, which I'm super excited about. It just kicked off a new cohort last week. I also offer retreats and all kinds of other things. Positive intelligence has become sort of a part of my offerings in a really cool way. It's aligned with everything else that I've learned as I went through my coach training. I am a presence-based coach, which means I actually care about what's happening below the neck a bit too. So, and that's something that, as Sarah will speak to, it's a little woo-woo, but actually there's a lot of data to say that what happens in our whole bodies is important and that we can take it into account, and we'll talk about that with positive intelligence as well. My story it's not as exciting or wonderful as yours, but I happened upon it because I also was invited to be part of a coaches group who was going through the positive intelligence training, and I'm one of those people that's like, oh, there's an opportunity, yes, I'm in. So I'm a yes sayer. And I'm so glad that I happened to say yes to this. Well, it was likely that I wouldn't say no, but I did say yes to this. And that was in May of 21. So it's been over 4 years. And I went through this program. It was completely life-changing for me. Same thing, men's hair club.
Yeah, not only client, also member.
Exactly. And I use the tools every day. I have the app, and even before we got here very early, I'm like, nope, but I got to work in some time for my PQ reps so that I can be ready to talk with all of you. I've been running pods since 22, and then super excited to have Sarah go. I was like, oh, you went through positive intelligence? Let's talk about it. What can we do together? And we are very different. You'll find that out when we start talking. So it's kind of a perfect combination because we cover a lot in terms of what kinds of saboteurs get in our way. So, yes.
Yeah.
Here we are. All right.
Thank you.
Yes. So, outcomes for today. Why are we here? Well, first of all, thank you for being here. This is such a great group. I'm
Because
excited.
of the microphone here.
Yeah, I'll be closer over here. We have a microphone here. I'll try to talk into it. Is everyone hearing me okay? Am I loud enough? Okay, good. Good. I have done some teaching. I went to grad school at University of Minnesota, so I have that teacher voice a little bit. So today what we want you to do is gain an understanding of PQ. What is this program? And it's not only a program, it's just a lifestyle, really. Get an understanding of the operating system and what it means to grow your mental fitness, okay? So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to dig into what's holding you back. In PQ language, those are called saboteurs, and we'll talk about what that means and what they are and how they show up for us. And we're going to learn and practice reframing. How do you move from saboteur mode in PQ language to sage mode, which is kind of our true authentic self, who we really are in the world, right? And then from there, it's like, okay, so what now what? What am I going to do with this? What makes sense, right? So that's where we're at. All right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Before we get started, let's do a little bit of defining our terms here. Mental fitness. Basically, what this is defined as, it's about the way that we face challenges. Growing our mental fitness is about growing our capacity to respond to life's challenges. Anyone finding that you have some challenges right now? Anyone feeling like there's some challenges going on in the world? I don't know about you, but yeah. I have been very, very thankful for my PQ work and just the foundation, because there's a lot going on in our world right now, and the thing about mental fitness is that when we take care of that for ourselves, when we face into challenges with a positive mindset, that ripples out into others, right? And it ripples out into our businesses, it ripples out into our families, and that is basically what I believe changes the world. And so that's what gives me help and hope, both. It gives me hope because it feels overwhelming to just scroll through the news or watch it or whatever you do to get your news. But I can think, nope, it can start with me. So that's why I'm glad that you all are here, because it does start with you, and we're building our mental fitness. The impact. There's three main impacts that we talk about with positive intelligence. They're kind of the three biggies. I actually flip-flopped peak performance with peace of mind and wellness, and I know this is a wellness session. I think nothing else happens if we don't have peace of mind and wellness, right? We can't really be fully in whatever we're doing if we're feeling super stressed, right? And then healthy relationships. Anyone think those are important in our world today? we're more connected than ever, and yet we're lonelier than ever, all the things. PQ is really important for that, as well as performance. So it's the trifecta of impact there. Yeah. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I'll add, and maybe we hit on this again later, but it's important, I think, in a group of people that are dedicated to growth and learning to remind you that wellness and achievement can coexist together.
Yes.
And that's a foundational belief and principle of this work. It's that one does not have to be sacrificed for the other, and in fact, when we have both of them, that's when we're operating at a most optimal state, typically.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Cool. All right.
So we're going to actually give you a chance to experience some of the concepts of PQ based on some personal experiences you've already had. And we're going to start with a visualization practice. So in a minute, we're going to ask you to close your eyes and we're going to walk you through 2 separate visualizations, and then we're going to debrief that in between each visualization. We want you to think about, before we go into the visualization, just because it'll be easier to do, we want you to think about 2 different experiences you've had as a leader. One is, I would say, the least ideal experience you've had as a leader. One that was frustrating and wrought with challenges, and it kind of felt like you just were like trying to push through everything that came. When obstacles came, it was just really difficult to move through them, whether they were challenges with people or circumstances, whatever the case may be, right? It just was extremely, extremely difficult. The outcome does not matter here, okay? It's the process we want you to think about. So you still could have gotten the project done, the initiative met, the goal hit or not. We want you to think about what's the most challenging part of the process, okay? Is everybody thinking of a time that that's true for them? If it's helpful, you can just make a little note that's going to help you recall that. The other one that we want you to think of is the opposite of that experience. An ideal example of you being in what I like to call your flow state of leadership, where everything felt natural, and when it didn't feel natural, your way of navigating through the circumstances that were new or challenging or hard were almost fun or exciting, or you could move through them with more ease and less of the pushing. It's not that it was easy, it's just that it felt more natural, more fun. It had a lighter feel to it, right? To get you in that flow state. Okay? Got those 2 experiences in mind? All right, so I'm going to have you close your eyes, and I'm going to ask you to visualize that first experience that was out of the norm, challenging for you, very difficult. And I want you to think about when in time this was, and who the people were that you were surrounded with or interacted with during this time. I want you to think about visualize, how do you picture yourself going through that experience? What did the conversations you were having look like? How did your brain process information as new and challenging things were coming your way? How did people around you respond to you and react to you and observe you? How did your body feel during that time? What were some of the physical sensations, your posture, maybe your digestive system, your sleep, how you were moving your body? What was that like for you? Okay, I'm going to have you open your eyes, and I want you to just jot down the things that come to mind that you noticed or observed in that part of the visualization. We're going to go into that positive experience where you're thinking about flow state, okay? So we're going to have you close your eyes. This one's the fun one, right? Maybe I'm not supposed to attach judgment. No, it is the fun one. Close your eyes and first of all, think of when in time did that experience happen for you. And again, picture the people around you. Who was around you and who were you interacting with during that time? Picture how you were communicating, interacting with others around you. How was your mind working? What were you thinking? What were you imagining? What were you observing? How did those people that were around you experience you? What was some of the feedback that you were getting or observations they were sharing? How was your mind working during that time? How did it feel in your mind as you were engaging with new experiences or challenges that came your way? And how did it feel in your body? What was your posture? How did your overall physicality feel? What was the energy inside your body like? All right. Do the same. Take a few moments to jot down here what you noticed, felt, or experienced. In positive intelligence, what we had you just visualize are two different experiences. One that probably puts you more in what we call your saboteur mode, which is, we're going to dig into both of these later today, but the first, that negative experience, was probably laced with your saboteurs overriding your sort of mental operating system. The second that we had you visualize is the sage mode, which is your optimal or ideal flow state, where the operating system is, you've worked through all the steps in the operating system to help you navigate with more ease, typically happiness and peace. And so we wanted you to first experience that. As we go along and we talk about these things, instances are going to come up that you think about, but we wanted you to have a full picture of a full experience so that you could kind of connect in with that as we go. We'd love for you to take a moment really quickly to talk about that experience with the folks at your table. So take a minute and share, what are some of the observations that you had? What did you notice? What did you feel that were differences between the sage and the saboteur and the sage visualization that you did? What did you observe? So we'll give you 5 minutes to have a quick conversation about some of those observations.
We're sending out invitations. We're always sending out invitations to be in saboteur or sage mode. They're both contagious. So, and we get to RSVP to those invitations by how we show up. But it's really hard when someone is fully in their saboteur mode to show up in sage. I mean, and I know for me, when I am in saboteur mode, it's hard for me to even see anything. It's like a tunnel vision, and I'll talk about that a little more. Yeah, that's a great, and it's a ripple effect. And again, why I talked about this idea that gives me hope of mental fitness is that it does ripple out. When we are shifting into our sage mode, it ripples out to others, and that creates something new. All right, okay. So today we're going to be talking about both saboteur and sage mode a little bit. So we're giving you the high view of it, and there's lots more that you can learn. But to start with, there's 10 saboteurs. I'm not going to go through them right now, but there's different ways that we sabotage ourselves, right? And we'll talk about what those ways are, and we'll actually dig deeper into them. And on the flip side, there's 5 sage powers that we always have available to us when we choose to use them. And so it's essentially 2 parts of our brain, essentially. So, and we can be, again, invited into saboteur mode. We can invite ourselves, or we can be invited and invite ourselves into sage mode, and we can do the shifting. All right, do you want to? Okay.
Turns out if you turn it on, it works.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good thing about remotes.
Yeah.
Always good to have the power, right?
Yeah.
Good. The saboteur mode essentially lives in 2 different parts of our brain. The saboteur side lives in our older brain, like our brainstem, our limbic system, if you've heard of kind of the reptile brain that we all have. If you've heard of the conditioned responses of fight, flight, fawn, there's actually different ones now. So these are parts of our left brain that get activated when we're in saboteur mode, all right? When we move into sage mode, we're actually accessing our middle prefrontal cortex, so the newer part of our brain. We're also accessing our empathy circuitry and parts of the right brain. So one thing I do want to say is that saboteurs are not something it's hard to live in saboteur mode, and I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it's also not something that you're going to come away from this workshop and be like, all done saboteurs, like never going to have them again. They are an old part of our evolutionary biology, and so we are going to always be looking at them, facing them, having them hijack us in various ways. So the key here is about awareness and agency to shift. So moving from saboteur to sage mode. So, yeah.
A thing that the way that these two different things work, saboteur and sage, is that saboteur motivates you through your emotions, right? So negative emotions. So that's where the dread that you're feeling, right? Like that is how your saboteurs are motivating you. So fear, stress, guilt, worry, anxiety. A super fun thing about me is I also have anxiety. So great. And so my saboteurs come to play just a lot. And so that is when I know when I'm feeling anxious. If you're another person who has anxiety, a thing you might also feel like I do is you feel it physically. Sometimes I feel physically anxiety attacks before I know in my brain what's going on. So that's why we had you do part of that visualization, is that the embodiment of our emotions are important signalers for us, and some of us will feel what our brain is thinking before our brain connects with what we're thinking, and that's part of what you're going to be learning through this switch from saboteur to sage. Sage motivates you through positive emotions, right? So this is empathy, curiosity, passion, purpose. So another way to think about this is that saboteurs push you, right? We've all had, so this is a great leadership principle for you to connect in with around PQ, I think, because you can reflect on, I think, good and bad leaders in this moment. I'm not talking about the kind of push you that gets you outside your comfort zone, because a good leader is probably actually going to pull you along to where they see you to be. I mean pushing you like my older brother pushed me off a tree to see if I would be able to ride the rope swing, and I couldn't. So what we want to do instead is pull, right? And that sage is the pull. So it's like an invitation into those good or positive emotions. And as leaders, that's another important aspect of sage, is our followers, the people we work with, the people we're trying to engage in community, they're going to be much likely to want to come along with us when we're pulling them instead of pushing them. So being cognizant of your own saboteurs and how they show up, and being cognizant of your sage and how it shows up is really, really important, so you can have not only your own sense of flow and ease, but you can create that reciprocal energy on the teams that you're working with. Saboteurs might generate success, but they do not generate happiness. Okay? In a minute, we're going to talk about that for saboteurs, there are strengths to the saboteurs, but there are also, when overused, they become very problematic, right? Sage is where you generate your highest success and happiness. So,
And
that's
sustained.
and the sustained. So burnout happens when we are over leveraging the strengths of our saboteurs. Remember that. It's over leveraging the strengths, okay? So while we aren't going to teach you that this is a toxic positivity, like just be happy and be happy all the time, that's not true. We're saying these saboteurs are going to come to play always. It's how do we manage them to move into that sage mode that we'll be working through today. Oops. Oh gosh, now I've got the remote and I can't control it. There we go.
Okay, where are we going now?
Do you want it?
I can.
Okay.
I don't know,
That
I'm
sounds like a
afraid.
better idea.
All right, so we're gonna again give you this very high overview of how positive intelligence works today, and then we'll talk more about how you can learn more. But one of the things that I, as a PhD IO psychologist, appreciate about this program, and part of why I've stuck with it, is that it is based on research. And in fact, it's based on multifaceted research from neuroscience, from cognitive behavioral psychology, from performance science, from positive psychology. And all of that flows into the positive intelligence program. And I appreciate that, because Shirzad is not standing up there and saying, hey, this is how it is because I think it is. He is saying, hey, this is how it is because I've done the research and I've got the data that shows
tell
that
them
it
who
is.
Shirzad is.
Oh yeah, Shirzad Shamin is the founder of Positive Intelligence. Thank you, Sarah. He's like the person, so I thought everyone would know Shirzad. So yes, he founded the Positive Intelligence program, and he's still very much leading this positive intelligence movement, and his vision is to bring it out very broadly to the world. So what he did is he had data from hundreds of thousands of people, and he factor analyzed those data, and he came up with three core factors, three core causes of, or foundations for professional and personal mastery, right? And the three that we'll talk about today and touch on are, the first one is catch your saboteurs. Awareness is key. If we don't see it, it's like it's not happening, right? It's not in our brain to do anything with. So first we need to see it. We need to intercept our saboteurs. And that's part of why you want to take the saboteur assessment and learn about your saboteurs, because we start to see, oh, this is how it shows up for me. These are the thoughts I have. These are the feelings I have. This is how I feel in my body when my saboteur is running the show. The second core piece is energizing your sage brain. Essentially, that's moving from saboteur mode to sage mode, which Michael so nicely demonstrated for us today. And it's that we do that by activating our positive sage brain. And you'll see this is the part that Sarah might say is woo-woo, but that activation happens whole body. It's not just a thinking thing, it's a whole body thing. And so that's really important to this. And then the third piece is we use our sage powers. So we all have access to these amazing powers when we choose to use them. So it's about getting to them and being able to use them. All right. And yeah, so this just tells you a little bit about the research. It's all laid out in the book, Positive Intelligence. I think some of you have already mentioned that you've read it.
Yeah, who's read the book?
Who's read the book?
Anybody?
Positive Intelligence. Yeah, okay, some. Yeah, good. Good. And what I like about this data set...
I'm going through it, that's good.
I'm a weird combination because I'm very woo-woo in a lot of ways, but I come up through a program of, I took, I think, 12 statistics courses on the way to my PhD, so I come up through a world of data. So I appreciate that this sample is huge and it's also diverse. So, and that means that when we have that kind of sample, we're getting good results, because as we used to say in grad school, garbage in, garbage out. If we have bad data, it doesn't matter what the results show because we have bad data. So, all right.
Can I have the remote?
Yes.
One of the things that drew me into wanting to coach is just the impact that the results that people see and change. And I think I'm going to let you read through what these are. People who've been through our foundational program, these are the response rate of what they have experienced in just the foundational program, which is significant. I think raise your hand if you've ever been through any kind of personal or professional growth program before. Yeah, right? Okay, and so I think a lot of them promise what they can do or what they will do for you, and this program just hits on such a myriad of things. So I always like to share so that you can kind of say, hey, what connects in with me in these different metrics? What feels like it's most important for me to grow and develop at this point, and see that there have been there's some significant results in what people experience. See, this is why I shouldn't have a remote.
Okay. You asked for it.
I did. Okay, so you have a little card in front of you. One of the things we wanted to give you as part of today is like a little reminder of what these three core steps are in helping develop the mental fitness operating system that is positive intelligence. So we're going to start today by talking about catching your saboteurs. And so you'll see on the card there, that's really the first, they are listed in order. So while they're listed in order, this is part of what was hard for me is I'm like a systems, process, outcome person. And I think most of us like to know the right way to do things. Part of what positive intelligence does is it creates an operating system for you to navigate through that goes both forward and back. So if you get stuck, you're going to loop through it a lot throughout your day. You might get stuck at a certain point and have to go back to a step in order to move forward through the operating system. But these are, in theory, the order that you work through to help you move from that saboteur to that sage mindset. We're going to start digging into saboteurs with all of you today. So you can go ahead and pull up your saboteur assessment results that you took. Because we want you to listen what we're talking about, but we also want you to connect in with what's happening with you personally first.
Yes.
So is this you?
Yeah.
Or is it me?
I think it's me.
Okay. I think
You can keep
okay,
it.
I'll keep it. This is
You're
dangerous.
good.
All right.
You take care of it. All right, so the judge is the master saboteur. Every one of us has a judge. How our judge shows up is different depending on kind of the uniquenesses of who we are. The 9 saboteurs that you took the assessment to identify for yourself, those are the judge's sort of accomplices. And so the judge is the overall conductor of the madness in our minds. So the judge, it's interesting to think about the judge. The judge is a good thing. We need to have in terms of understanding where we're at, but the judge gets sort of lopsided because it's from a standpoint of what's wrong or bad. We are always looking around our environments for survival's sake to see what's wrong or bad, because if we aren't looking for that, something bad could happen to us, right? Evolutionarily, those who didn't have a good judge and the saber-toothed tiger was hiding in the bush, if they're like, oh, that might be a butterfly, well, they're not here. So there's a safety component to it, there's a survival component to it. The thing is that it takes over for us, and we can't get out of that mode. There's 3 things we judge. We judge ourselves. Anyone have that? I will raise my hand fully. We judge ourselves, all the things that we're doing wrong, what I'm wearing, what I'm doing, what I'm saying, what I'm feeling, all those things. Something's wrong with them. We judge others. Oh, not only is something wrong with me, but something's wrong with you. Like, what the heck are you doing out there? Especially in driving. We can judge a lot. The third thing that the judge judges is our circumstances. This is one that falls under the radar for people because there are cultural things that are good and cultural things that are considered bad. And we use our judge to say, oh, this happened, this is terrible, this is awful, what's going to happen to me? It happened to me in 2011. I got laid off from a job that I had been at for 18 years. It was terrible. Actually, no, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I wouldn't have left that job. I had grown up in that company. I was bored with that job. And I instead got to be standing here talking to you, which I never would have done if I was in a consulting job. It was a wonderful company. So glad they laid me off. So it's something to pay attention to in yourself when I'm judging something as bad or good. Well, we don't know, and we'll talk about more about that later. Okay, so then we'll talk about. Okay, I'm gonna do Am I doing this one right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. We're going to do the quick version of the saboteurs. There are 9. Starting up in the upper left-hand corner is the controller. This is the part of ourselves that, well, maybe you want to describe that.
And I think we have to go through these a little quickly. Maybe we can dig into more on there.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I don't want to describe it because it's one of my top 3 saboteurs, and I don't want to be controlling about the situation. So you go ahead and describe it.
The controller is a bit of a.
By the way, did you hear what I just said to her before that? What did I say?
Yes.
Julie, what did I say?
Yes, we better move it along.
And we gotta
right?
move it along.
And I'm a
so we
pleaser, and I
stay
have
on
a
time,
pleaser.
right?
I have
Like,
a strong pleaser,
they
so I'm like,
show-
oh, okay, I'll go
yeah,
faster.
right? You literally just saw it in that.
Oh, I better speed up because Sarah wants me to speed up. And I have some hyperachiever in me, so I want to get my A at my keynote. So, okay, controller, I think we can all imagine what that is. It's like, this is the way, I have the way, my way, or the highway. Hyperachiever, this is where everything is about that next win. We have to keep moving towards that next win. That's the only way that we'll be safe. Restless is, squirrel, what's that over there? Huh, oh, that's interesting. I'm gonna do that for a while. Oh, no, what's that over there? Oh, okay. So restless is, moving from thing to thing, can't quite focus. Stickler, another one of my favorites, top 3. Stickler is, it's gotta be this way. If that comma's off, like, you better change that. Like, that's gonna be really important for this keynote, right? All right, pleaser. Right there in the center, right there in the center. I have a lot of a pleaser saboteur in me, which is, how can I help you? How can I make it better for you? Oh, yeah. What can I do? Yes. Hypervigilant. What could go wrong? Everything can go wrong. I'm worried about what this might be like. I'm not sure. I don't know. This might not work. I'm afraid. We might be late. We better leave 3 hours early.
Here's my favorite real life example right now. My boyfriend won a permit to climb Mount Whitney, and I was like, "Are you gonna go by, like, what's your plan?" And he's like, "Well, I don't really have a plan." I was like, and I was like, "Okay, like, who's going with you?" And he's like, "No one's going with me." And I was like, what? And he goes, well, what's the worst that could happen? And I go, what do you think is the worst that could happen? What do you think is the worst that could happen? And he was like, I don't climb the mountain. I don't get to the top of the mountain, and I try again next year. And I go, I'm literally thinking of 8 situations that are worse than you not getting to the top of the mountain. That's the way hypervigilant plays out. Yes. Death is at the top of the list.
Death is at the top of the list for
Yes.
climbing a mountain. Yes. Yes. Okay, and then back down here to avoider. If I can do it later, it'll be fine. I don't have to do that right now. I don't want to think about that. I need a break. Yes. Victim. This is one where this is a deep feeling of I can't do anything about it. I'm helpless. I can't move forward because all this stuff is happening. This world is really tough that we live in right now. It's tough. So, yeah. And then hyper-rational. Give me the data only, facts, please. This is what I can understand, and this is what I will look at only. Don't tell me about anything about, certainly don't talk about my body. So, yes.
All right.
Okay.
So, as we mentioned, it's really fun about how this plays out. Caroline's and mine are here together. This is the caveat that I also like to share. These are my old results. So this is the first time I took the assessment. These are my results. I have taken it since, and they've changed. Mm-hmm. So it's not one of those assessments that once you take it, it's that forever. These are things that you can certainly work on, and they play, which is great because I think I mentioned earlier that victim mentality was very strong for me and felt very foreign to me, and I could just tell it was like, it was giving me the ick. Mm-hmm. And so, and it was holding me back, and it was burning me out. Jasmine was lucky enough to meet me during that time, and I'm sure I was just a bundle of fun to be working with because I was burning out and not realizing it, right? And so it was playing out in the way I was interacting with people. And so victim for me showed up more so like, all this stuff keeps happening to me. I have such terrible luck. Why does this keep happening to me? So it was more that than I can't do anything about it because that's not woven into me. But it was just like, oh, this stuff is happening. It's just kind of like, you know, Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, you know? But, so you can see here that we are really different in the way that we even have our saboteurs. So imagine us working together, right? Like that, think about how this comes into play when we work together because we have these different, like, when Caroline is like her pleaser mentality, I just have to sit there and be like, see what's happening. happening. I'm gonna let it happen. I don't know why you care this much about what other people think, but like, let it happen. And then she like gets through and she'll be like, okay, that's my pleaser talking. I'm like, there it is. Come on, girl. There we go. All right.
There she is. I see her again.
And she knows that I'm a crazy controller, and I just want to tell her how much time we have left and that we have to keep moving in the presentation, right? Because I get like worried that I don't know what's going to happen. We're not going to get an A on our keynote if we're not on time. So these are the ways that they play out. So I'm thinking you probably are thinking through what that means for you, right? So important things to know about saboteurs overall. The ultimate saboteur lie is that it is your friend and I'm good for you. And you are going to see in a minute that there are strengths to these saboteurs that helped you get to where you are today. And what the saboteurs tell you, that lie, is, I'm only strengths. I'm only the strengths. That's why you are the person that you are today. Yeah. But they only give you breadcrumbs. Okay, they're not giving you the fullness of who you are, who you're capable of, or being in that flow state. So you don't want to be settling in with those saboteurs. You want to be moving away because they're generating the opposite of what they're promising you. They will hold you back. So they might win some small battles, but not win the war. So taking a look at your assessment, we're going to give you on the top of your table, you can flip those over now and everybody can have one of those sheets. That's a table that at a high level outlines the strengths and the drawbacks of every single saboteur. So, in addition to that, so what I'm going to encourage you to do, we're going to focus in on a little bit here on a group discussion on one saboteur today, because that's what we've got time for. So using this outline, figure out what resonates most with you about the saboteur, or the saboteur that you want to work on the most just today. It doesn't have to be the one that's at the top of your list. It can be the one at the top of your list, but you can choose. And then, in addition to that, on this QR code, there's access to another resource that's fuller if you want to read a little bit more information or connect to that Dropbox folder. There's a fuller report if you're like really stuck on which saboteur to use. Once you've identified the saboteur that you want to work on, we're going to move. All right? So everybody's going to go to a table with the saboteur that they've identified that they want to work on. Okay? So we're going to put engaging with the saboteur. I'm like human Valium. I am so chill. When I am not hypervigilant, I am like go with the flow. I'm so fun to be around. I mean, I'm fine saying this because I've worked hard to become this person in Sage, right? Like, you want me at your next party. That is the person that I am, right? When I'm hypervigilant, it's like, do we have to invite Sarah? You know what I mean? So that's the difference for me. So thinking about that, and in a work perspective, I will also say, when I am hypervigilant, if you do not hit your goal, oh my God, I'm a jerk. I am such a jerk. Because if everybody doesn't hit their goals, the business is going to fail. We're not going to get promotions. We're not going to, it's ridiculous, right? And so that energy, I'm being over-exaggerating about it, but that's kind of the lies that are being told, right? So thinking about these questions for you and your saboteur, take a moment to self-reflect and kind of jot down what are some of these things that your saboteur is telling you.
Because saboteur mode, anyone think that it's a little painful? Stressful, all the things, right? And so what we want to do to get out of the saboteur mode is energize our sage brain. And that happens in our bodies. So I know, I'm going to ask you to, again, close your eyes or take a soft gaze. I'm going to move you right into it. So here we go. What I want you to do is take 2 fingers of either one or both hands and rub them together so firmly that you can actually feel the ridges on each of those fingers. Just rubbing them together. And now taking your hands and placing them together and rubbing your whole hands, your palms, your fingers together so you can feel those ridges. All right, congratulations. You've done a PQ rep, actually 2 or 3. And what that is it's a way to move us out of our heads into our bodies and into our more holistic true self. That's where our sage self lives. Anyone feel calmer just after those 10 to 30 seconds? Yeah. I'm seeing almost everyone nodding. It's bizarre. like this move, this one is so easy. You can do it on a Zoom, you can do it under the table, in a meeting, something stressful. I love this one.
Susie said her husband recognizes.
Right?
Knows it.
Right? It's so quick and easy, and it's very, no one has to see in case you don't want anyone to see.
There's two components of energizing your sage. So a lot like going to the gym, this is the reps part of the gym. So I think about it in two different ways. One is the base of fitness. So every day in a positive intelligence practice, you're doing this proactively, right? We just did it reactively after thinking about a time of stress, and you can do it in moments of stress. But you want to build up your PQ strength by doing some of these practices on a daily basis.
Yep.
And then the reactive part comes as that second step in the operating system to help you after you catch your saboteurs and say, hey, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Then you can move into your body. And through practice, it becomes almost second nature. So you can almost do it. It becomes so fast that you can catch your saboteur or the PQ rep and move into the sage after a lot of practice that quickly in a reactive way.
Yeah. It's
and
charging your battery and dealing with a situation.
And all of this is done because of that research that this is based on. This puts you in the place of your brain where it's associated with peace and positive emotions. So it's getting the transition out of that executive functioning not executive functioning, limbic system response of like fight or flight, and gets you into the space where you're operating more clearly and gives you the best perspective.
Yep.
So the last step then is to use your sage powers in 90 minutes. We don't have time to go through all of the sage powers and saboteurs, and so we like to give you a tip or a peek into your saboteurs so that you understand, oh, that's what's holding me back, right? Using your sage, there's 5 core sage powers. I'm going to give you the first one because it's the easiest and hardest one to practice, and it is empathy. So like Judge is the master saboteur. Empathy is it actually navigate? And I think it's empathy. Am I getting this wrong?
I think it's activate potential, or it doesn't matter.
I'm going to give you an easy one to practice. It's empathy, and the reason that it's easy and the most difficult is the sage power of empathy is to feel love. So Caroline told you that when you encounter the judge is either judging yourself, others, or circumstances. An easy way to get into activating a sage power is to say, okay, I'm catching that's happening, I'm PQ repping, and now I'm going to choose to feel love for myself, for others, or whatever is happening in the situation.
Yep.
And it is hard and powerful to do so.
Yes. So I do want to talk about this one real briefly. The sage perspective, I alluded to it when I talked about my layoff in 2011. Every outcome or circumstance can be turned into, and I like to actually emphasize that, turned into a gift and opportunity. This is not toxic positivity. It doesn't mean that everything is a gift, but it does mean that we can be with what happens to us and turn it into a gift eventually. This sage perspective is a game changer. How much time do you spend worrying about or fretting over what has happened, what might happen, what is happening, and worrying that it's bad, or that something is not going to go well? I do it with our current political climate. I just do. And so this thought of every outcome or circumstance can be turned into. It's a key part of operating from a sage perspective. So
because we're running tight on time, we want to share with you. So I know I think all of you raised your hand when you said you've been through some kind of growth or development program before. The core sort of concept behind any growth or development initiative is you got about 20% today, right? Like you got the inspiration of what positive intelligence is, maybe a little bit more than that because we actually did some work and you started digging in. But 80% of developing positive intelligence is the practice of the mental muscle. So that's really kind of what our full program is. We just want to share briefly what that looks like in case folks are interested. So the PQ operating system starts with foundations. I am not a stickler, so that S week PQ is my fault, and any typos you see are my fault. 8 weeks.
I do go through and
It's
try and
supposed to say
fix them.
8. How did S get 8? Are they by each other on the keyboard?
I don't know.
For the love, they're not even close. 8-week foundations program. So for the first 8 weeks, it starts with an hour module of self-study. We meet together as a small group for 8 weeks virtually, and then every day you're taking about 15 minutes. There's 15-minute, or 3 to 4 morning, but you have options of more throughout the day if you want. 3 to 4 minute audio session every day, and then you're practicing those quick PQ reps as you go to build your mental muscles and enhance the foundational supports. There's some weird
interesting
stuff
in
happening
there.
on
I
this
don't know
page.
what's going
It did
on.
not look like this before. We have 3.
The sticklers over here are like, oh my god.
We have 3 different offerings. It's bad when I notice it. So
I even
geez.
said sticklers.
We
the
have
people
3
who have
different
the stickler.
offerings. One is just that foundational program, and that's accessible to anybody. If you are a nonprofit, or if you are a nonprofit, we do have an education. We have discounted rates for individuals. PQ Applications is that foundational program plus an additional 4 months of, so you learn the operating system of PQ in the foundational 8 weeks. PQ and Applications is then for the 4 months that follow some real life, the most common real life experiences that we all share and have, and how are we applying PQ in that regard. That goes from weekly then to monthly for those 4 months. And then we also have 2 programs for if you're a business leader or you're a business owner and you're looking for a program to help develop or improve the wellness of your team. We've got 2 programs of PQ for PQ powered teams. And just the cool note about that is that PQ, if you have 25 or more people from your organization that join the PQ for Teams program, they also gift free subscriptions to spouses and immediate family,
Families,
actually
yeah,
immediate
families.
family members.
Yes.
So if you have children over
Young
the age
adult
of 12,
children.
they also can go through it. So you can kind of bring it and take it home and work on it with your family as well. And I know we have to move on to some closing announcements. If anybody wants to learn more about PQ, anything that we offer, or if you want to go more in depth on your own saboteurs or anything you're kind of thinking about, you can book a free session with Caroline and I as part of our time here together today. So
Yeah.
the QR codes are up there. We'll leave them up there so you can scan them, or we'll hang around to chat afterwards too.
Yes.
So thank you so much for having us and engaging so
you.
fully and
Yeah.
learning with each other today.